Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 10. I'm Tony, and I used to have a job like this. This was something I don't think I wanted to play a video game of.
Oh, and my name's Jeff, and today we're moving some boxes around. We're going to be playing Boxxle or Sokoban. Tony, before we get into the manual labor, I think we have a quiz question from Wizards and Warriors. Do you want to remind us what that is?
Wizards and Warriors X Fortress of Fear, you mean?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So our question for the Wizards and Warriors episode was about the box art, specifically on the Wizards and Warriors 2 Iron Sword entry. Instead of the usual painted version of the cover, they went with a photographed model. And the question was about who was this model? Jeff, do you have any guesses?
I don't. I want it to be like Fabio or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It is Fabio.
Is it?
It is
okay.
Fabio. Yeah, it is. He was the model for Wizards and Warriors 2. It was Fabio Lanzoni.
Let's go. That's a name I have not thought of or heard in quite some time.
I bet you haven't. For anyone who doesn't know, especially any younger listeners, he was famous for being on the covers of something like 400 romance novels across his career.
Yeah, essentially think of quintessential, most stereotypical, long-haired...
bodice ripping, yeah.
Yeah, and it's stereotypical because that was Fabio.
Yep. When this game had its cover art done and the developers were shown Fabio Lanzoni on the cover in this barbarian harness and whatever else, they were pretty confused about why that was the angle they were going for a game that had a fully armored knight as the protagonist. But I don't really know that they get to make that call, especially late into development like that.
Yeah, that's a great little piece of trivia. But moving on from Fabio, immediate opinions on moving boxes around. Would you recommend someone to play Boxxle today?
So my answer on this upfront is yes. But.
Okay.
And we'll have to get into why.
Yeah, so I have, again, a no asterisk. So a no, but I wonder if we're kind of on the same side here, but we'll get into that a little bit later. What did the box have to say? Why should we have picked this up?
This box has a lot to say and also very little to say. So here we go. Boxxle is a game. Boxxle is a puzzle. Boxxle is the go-anywhere brain teaser for the Game Boy system that you just can't put down. The game is based on moving crates around in a warehouse, but manual labor won't win the game. It takes brain power to move boxes into their proper spaces to clean up the room and get to the next screen. And the next, and the next. The puzzles keep coming, over 100 different screens in all. It boxxles the mind. Plus, you can pick your puzzle or use the edit function to create your own screens. You'll never get bored once you get Boxxle. 108 screens, 3 edit screens, password memory, animation, and synthesized sound.
So 108 levels, which is a lot. This is part of a much broader Sokoban universe, we will say. First release in 1982 for the NEC PC 8801 computer. The most recent release is in 2021 for the Switch and PS4. So franchise is still kind of chugging along, I suppose. And yeah, you're a warehouse worker who is moving boxes around, apparently to make money to buy a present for a girl to make her like you. Question mark.
I thought it was a car. I thought you were trying to buy a fancy car to impress the girl. Is that...
It may be.
It may be.
Yeah.
Very vague, let's just say.
So the manual says, help Willie win over the girl of his dreams by earning enough money moving boxes in the warehouse to buy her a wonderful present.
Oh, okay.
whatever. Puzzle games don't need stories. Whatever.
They could be. They could have.
This one did not need a story, in my opinion. That's pretty much it. Without going, deeper into the mechanics yet, is there anything else, backgrounds, anything like that you want to talk about this game, or do you want to just jump right into the mechanics?
I am ready to push the boxes and get through this warehouse.
All right, let's do it. All right, Tony. How far did you get? Did you play for hours and hours to get to level 108, or what was your gameplay experience?
This is why you're my best friend in foil, because I would never have been able to ask those things with a straight face. Oh my gosh. I made it through the first cutscene. You get a cutscene every 10 puzzles, I think. I stopped somewhere after that. I don't remember exactly what level. It might have been like the 12th or 13th puzzle. I did not make it very far. These kinds of games burn my brain in a really, really bad way. So I was struggling after a while, and I had to call it. 100. There was no way. When I found out it was 108 levels, I knew I was not going to see the end of this one.
Yeah, so I think ended in the 2 dash whatever. So the first 10 levels were all 1-1, 1-2, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Then you get to 2-1, which is the 11th level. Mm-hmm. I made it somewhere 2 dash something, again, don't really remember. Each level has a code that you can write down and then jump back into that level. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to get to level 99 and then if your Game Boy turns off, start from the beginning. So
it's one of the first password systems that we've had in any of these games.
It is. And while I appreciate that, I also, I remember as a kid having random pieces of paper shoved in, my Game Boy case with random passwords for things that I didn't remember what they were actually for because I wasn't smart enough to actually label things correctly. So
that's what that notes section is in the manual. I love that a lot of Game Boy games do that. They just have like a blank page in the back.
The manual for this game specifically calls it out passkey /notes.
So, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's so cool. I really appreciated that. The fact that there was a passkey system, for whatever we might have to say about it as far as gameplay goes, there are definitely some things here that on the Game Boy are pretty much firsts. And the passkey system, that's one of them.
Yeah, again, first that we've experienced. As far as gameplay, very, very simple. I'm sure the vast majority of our listeners have played a game similar to this, if not specifically a game from this series. Mm-hmm. You control a little dude, Willie, I guess, and you are pushing boxes. You cannot pull them, so you can only push them in one direction. There are a certain number of key spots that you need all the boxes to get in those key spots. The puzzles get progressively harder, but that's pretty much it. You use the D-pad to move your guy. When you're behind a box, you can push the box. If you make a mistake, you can push the A button to reverse one move. If you accidentally, push the box up against the wall or something like that, you can have one little oopsie.
Yeah.
But that's it for the game. The levels are designed to make you kind of figure out how to use this one mechanic to get all the boxes where they're supposed to go.
And if you so choose, to do it in as few moves as possible.
That is another thing. There is a step counter or a move counter in the top right, which as far as I can tell does absolutely nothing. There is no score or anything like that.
No.
The goal is to finish the puzzle. So I guess it's nice when you get it to minimum steps required.
I think it's just a Sokoban thing. I think in lieu of a high score mechanism, the idea being that there is an ultimate number that you should be able to whittle it down to. Almost like how speedrunners try to reach like the ultimate number that they can humanly reach or whatever. It's something like that is how I sort of feel about it.
Yeah, I guess it adds replayability. to some extent.
Sure.
Maybe a little bit lost on us, but it's there. I did also like that there was a create screen. So you could create custom levels.
Yes. Another first.
Which I made like half a level and then stopped. So I don't know if it gives you like a code for your level or if you set a code or...
I made a level and played through the level because I wanted to make the level, export it somehow, and then like get it to you so that you could play it before the episode. But it didn't seem to give me like any kind of passkey that would customize that level, which I feel would probably be way harder to do with than they could have managed with just the 4 characters that were in the passkey.
Yeah.
So without some like save file copy paste shenanigans, I don't know. I don't think that there's a way to send the puzzle anywhere. I think it really is just like stuck to your own screen, which is still neat that it's there. And it was pretty simple to use because there's not really that much that you're putting on the field in the first place. A little obtuse. I finally got it worked out. I had to kind of redesign the walls of my puzzle just a little bit so that my guy spawned in a feasible starting location, because that was something I noticed that they didn't let you set.
Was the spawn location.
You weren't able to like choose where the guy started.
Yeah.
So it was really cool that it was there. Another big first, any kind of like custom content maker for a game. That's really cool to see. But you know, if you're not really into the Sokoban gameplay in the first place, it's a lot harder to come up with a bespoke puzzle. And I, for all I know, I might have just recreated one of the 100 puzzles that are already in there because I just didn't make it that far.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciated that it was an option. Could see it being interesting or fun for a road trip or something along those lines. You know, I create a level, see if my brother can beat it. Brother creates a level, see it. I could see something like that being fun. And again, it is the first time we're seeing something like that for the Game Boy in the games we're playing.
Right.
So that is, in my opinion, like a good mechanical step forward of kind of showcasing what can happen and all of that.
100%.
As far as further mechanics, I honestly don't have a whole lot for this because it is, you know, very similar to a lot of, I feel, puzzle games that we see now that are, you can move a thing one way, that's all you can do. And the controls are extremely simple. It was extremely intuitive, never had to look at the manual.
No.
As I was playing this, I kept thinking that it's probably one of the first games where I could see a game guide being really popular or used while playing a game.
Sure.
You know, Wizards and Warriors did have some secret rooms, etc., but this is the first one that I could really see being like, I am stuck and I can't get past it, looking at a game guide of how to beat that level and then going back and playing it yourself.
So let me ask though, did you reach a point in the game where you were just having more trouble with it than you felt it was worth to continue playing, or you were having trouble with it, but if you gave it enough time and mental energy, you would continue to play it and wanted to see the puzzles continue to progress and get consistently harder and more complex?
So I got to a point where I was just kind of burnt out with it. And so I felt like the puzzles were getting harder more because I was tired of thinking about it than because the puzzles were getting that much harder.
Sure.
So I did, I guess, kind of run into that barrier, but then came back later, 1 or 2 attempts, kind of figured it out. And so I don't think I reached a point where I was really hard stuck. It was more of like I just don't care anymore. Again, that's where the passcode system is really nice, because then you can jump back in directly where you hit that point. I'm sure if I played for another 10, 20 levels, I would probably hit one that I just, for whatever reason, had an issue with. But in my limited amount of playing, I didn't reach that.
I feel pretty much the same. multiple times the puzzle just felt like it was besting me, and that no matter how much I banged my head against it, I was not going to come to a solution. Eventually, I tended to make it through, puzzle by puzzle, but the amount of time that it was taking me to get through every puzzle wasn't just like incrementally increasing, it was almost like exponentially increasing.
Yeah.
And so I could just feel that eventually it was going to get to a point where even if I wanted to finish the puzzles, it was going to take me something like, 30 minutes to an hour to solve a single puzzle the right way. And that's just not the kind of game that I like to play. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot to sit there and know that all it takes is one single mistake and you've lost the entire puzzle. Thankfully, they give you a really quick way to retry without any kind of like penalty or anything, which is very much appreciated. The puzzles might be hard and complex, but that is literally the only thing that is.
Exactly.
All of the controls feel good. Understanding what you're supposed to do from the get-go is really good. They don't punish you or anything. They give you a really easy retry.
Yeah.
Like, everything about it is very smooth. The entire experience feels good to play, except for the levels that are sprinkled throughout where they like make your boxes and your character smaller. They were really slow.
I have a note on that for our next section, but yes, I agree with that. I was not a fan of that. And also, I don't know if you felt the same way, but a lot of times in games like this, I feel like there will be one level that I'm just banging my head against and takes me 10x the amount of time as any other level. For whatever reason, something about it, my brain is not seeing the solution.
Sure.
And I hit my first level like that. That's when I had to walk away. So I don't know if these games are kind of like similar for you or if you experienced that same sort of thing, but I definitely had a few times like that with this.
I mean, I like puzzle games. Like, we've only really had Tetris and now Boxxle as far as like pure puzzle games really so far. And I haven't really been like super positive on either of them as far as like playing the game goes. But I don't want to give it, the idea that like I don't like puzzle games, because I really do, I promise.
And I know Tetris is a puzzle game, but it doesn't feel like a puzzle game to me necessarily. It's like action puzzle game.
Sure. This one feels like puzzle distilled.
Yes.
Like, this is like puzzle game as pure as it can be.
Yeah, and I can appreciate it for that.
If you're into that, you are someone who likes to just stare at the screen and do a bunch of, mental math in your head to try and think so much farther along than you are currently in the game and plan all your moves and stuff like that. I totally understand why this would be something you would go to, because it's not the mechanics that I'm having an issue with or the gameplay or anything. It's just, this is a game that's very difficult for me to, work my way through. And so out of the 100+ levels that there are, I barely scratched the surface, and I'm not compelled to do so mechanically,
I would agree. And I think that's a good place for, I'm going to keep my pin in my immediate opinion, and we'll wrap back to that.
Yes.
But with that, is there anything else you want to talk about the mechanics or anything in this section before we kind of move on?
No, I think that it's really as simple as it can be mechanically. I think that a lot of my real praise and stuff is going to come in the other section. So I'm ready for the break.
All right, let's do it.
Ad break. It's got to sound at least kinda official.
Always. You can start whenever.
Okay. Here at Critical DMG, we primarily focus on the Game Boy's past, but we also love to support the Game Boy games of here and now. And there's enough of them around these days that finding ones you'd like to play and getting them into your hands can be a little frustrating.
That's where play tiles come in.
Play tiles are tiny, portable gamepads that you stick right onto your smartphone's touchscreen. It temporarily transforms your phone into a portable gaming console, with heaps of curated indie releases at your fingertips. No cables or batteries required.
Focusing on an ecosystem of supporting and promoting homebrew games, you'll receive new titles to play each week as part of Playtile's seasonal mixtape, all of which are yours to keep and were developed by independent creators paid for adding them to the Playtiles catalog.
Pre-orders for Playtiles are open now. You can reserve yours, as well as learn more about how they work at Get Playtiles. That's GET.PLAYTIL.ES.
Cool. I think they'll like that.
You know, I'm pretty sure that Playtiles would work with any touchscreen surface similar to your phone.
You think so?
As soon as I get my hands on one, my Vita and I are gonna find out.
Shoot, I think the mic's still on.
What? Oh. And we're back.
So back.
So back and so boxed. Oh boy. Moving on to this section, the aesthetic section for those in the know and out of the know, I have to add that another first here on the Game Boy came from Boxxle, which is digitized speech clips. Jeff, what did you think about it every time your little guy would go, yeah?
I hate it. I hate it.
Oh,
I hate it so much.
What? No, I am a big fan of digitized speech in Game Boy games.
Okay, so yeah, when you complete a level, your little guy, whatever, and he goes, yeah. And it's in my opinion, it's like the most high-pitched, distorted audio that it doesn't sound good. Like I'm a fan of 8-bit audio. I'm a fan of like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was just this game or how they did it or what, but yeah, it was just distorted a bit too much in my opinion, that it came off as like very jarring and very literally my first note was hate the yeah at the end of stages.
Aw, that's so funny. I am a huge fan of digitized sound in the Game Boy games. I actually use it a lot in my own Game Boy games. So I actually have something similar in one of my games where I recorded myself going, ouch, and it plays anytime you take damage. So I thought it was super cute. It definitely is a little rough. The interference on it is pretty bad. So I can see that.
So I've heard your ouch, and that doesn't jar me the same way as this. And so I did actually have, I wanted to ask you kind of like a general audio Game Boy question, because I'm not familiar with how this is created, how Game Boy music and all of that. So when I first heard it, I was like, are they limited to a certain number of sounds that they get for Game Boy music, and then they're trying to replicate this noise with that? Obviously, you just said it was not that. It was the first instance of like digital recording. Does it go through a filter? I guess what is that? Could you explain that in kind of like a brief manner to all of us people who do not know those things?
Sure. So I am definitely not a Game Boy sound expert. As much of my own Game Boy development stuff as I do, one of the main areas that I don't really like develop or create my own stuff, and I use either Tip Top Tomcat, who we've done an ad for already, and is not only a stand-up guy,
friend of the show,
who does all our music and everything else. So I go to Tomcat a lot. Shout out Tomcat. But making sound and music for the Game Boy is kind of a lot. There's a lot of like specialty programs that you might have to use, like trackers and things like that. So
I imagine nowadays when you added that sound effect, you just went ouch into your mic that you're then running through a filter.
Multiple filters.
Is that what they did? Or like what? Do we not necessarily know how that was done?
I don't necessarily know for sure.
Okay.
I would have to look it up to see if I can find out, because I did try to find if the Boxxle / Sokoban digitized voice was officially the first time that there was digitized voice in a Game Boy game, and I couldn't really find a definitive answer.
Okay.
But when I do it for my games, I do record it on Audacity like I'm doing for the podcast right now. And then it goes through multiple levels of filters ranging from high pass, low pass, all of this other stuff. And not only that, but it has to be within a very specific length. Like, you can't have it be super long because you can only fit a file that's so big into the project and then be read at the same time.
Okay.
That could just be a software thing with the engine that I use for Game Boy games, GB Studio.
But I imagine you would have similar restrictions on...
Sure.
I assume modern hardware is better than, old hardware,
So I don't know if they literally were just recording it into a microphone on their old computer and then putting it in as some other kind of sound file. I'll probably look that up after recording because I am very curious to know.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have to get maybe we could reach out to Tomcat and do some sort of Game Boy audio special in the future or something. Audience, let us know.
And if anyone knows, how this was done, or if we're just completely wrong, let us know. But I did not like the yeah.
Yeah, final word on the yeah. I guess you didn't, I did. We'll just agree to disagree.
How did you like the rest of the music?
I think that it was fine. I think it was pretty cute, especially the little jingle at the beginning of the game, I think was very charming. But having to sit and burn my brain on the same puzzles and have the looping track just go over and over, I got pretty tired of it.
100% agreed.
Apparently, there are multiple tracks in the game. There's more music than what I heard.
Really?
Because there is a sound test that you can access. I believe only with a cheat code. Thank you, GameFAQs. But there's a bunch of tracks to the game, so I'm assuming that maybe they are either cutscene music or much farther along in the puzzles. The background music changes. I don't know. Neither of us got that far.
Interesting.
But from the track that we were stuck with for the dozen levels or so that we actually did play, considering how much time I spent in those levels, it was a lot. It was a lot to just listen to that same loop over and over again. So even if I did like it better than I do, I would have to ding it just because I was listening to it so long. It makes me wonder, am I just stupid at Sokoban puzzles or something? Are you supposed to solve them so much faster than I did, and so you're not supposed to hear this music for as long as I was suffering through it? Or
I can't imagine that being the case. So I agree. Generally, I did not like the music. I thought it was... I feel like when you were listening to Game Boy music, there are kind of like the color palette where there are only so many options. I feel like the music, there are also only kind of so many options on the range that you can go in. This music was way higher pitched and had way too much energy for what was happening.
I can see that.
And like you said, the loop was very short. And it wasn't so jarring that most of the time you couldn't not think about it. But there were multiple times when I was just kind of staring at a puzzle, trying to, plan out 20, 30, 40 moves ahead. And it would just hit a certain point, just okay, music, stop. It added a bit of more frustration to the music or to the game than I feel like it needed. It was so repetitive. Again, high pitched and high energy for what I feel should be a very calm, chill game.
It almost reminded me of rodeo music, if that makes sense. It had a Western kind of flavor that
I could kind of see
it just didn't suit what you were doing in this game.
Agreed.
And I don't know. I know there was no, lo-fi beats to push boxes to back in 1990 or whatever.
Oh, that playlist probably goes hard though.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'm sure somebody lo-fi Game Boy beats to push boxes to.
Did you ever stand there long enough that your sprite went to sleep?
Even if I did, I think that I was so preoccupied with staring at the boxes and the drop-off points to figure the puzzle out that I don't even know that I really noticed. Is that a thing that happens?
Yeah, so if you sit there long enough, I don't know how long it was.
Mm-hmm.
It never happened when I was playing. I honestly opened the game to listen to the music as I was doing research to remind myself why I made the note that I hated it. And I just left it on. So as I was doing research for it, I noticed the music changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at the game, and yeah, like little dude had gone to sleep, and there were little sleep bubbles coming out, and and the music, you know, kind of like mellowed a little bit and changed. Still not the best, but honestly, I was like, oh, that's a kind of like cute little addition. Maybe if it happened when I was actually playing, it would have made me a bit angry. Like, okay, game, you don't need to criticize how long I'm taking to solve the puzzle. Just let me do my thing. But yeah, I found it to be a nice little add-in, and honestly liked the music and the sprite better. So I was like, that's fine.
That's pretty much what I was saying in the earlier part of the episode, was that there's so little here mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the really positive and like noteworthy things, apart from all of those mechanical firsts that we had talked about, is here in this aesthetic section. I think that the warehouse was designed pretty cute. I like the brick patterning on the tiles. I think the boxes read really well. I don't like the small portions. I think that they don't read very well, and they're also very small. So if you had something to say about that, definitely now's the time.
Yeah, I did not like that. So occasionally, as you go between levels, if they want to fit more tiles in, they like shrink the scale of everything. And you still know what's going on, and it doesn't happen until maybe like level 8 or something. So by that time, you know what you're doing. So it's not really making the gameplay more confusing or anything, but it's just, one, a little bit jarring when all of a sudden everything shrinks. And then, yeah, everything just looks worse, in my opinion.
And it's slower.
Yeah.
You move slower. You push the boxes slower, so it makes the game that you're already thinking really hard about the solutions to these puzzles, and then it makes it slower to get through, and it just... It's like it compounds everything that I didn't already like about the game and made it worse in these few sections.
Yeah, I can understand why they did it. Again, if you need more tiles to make a more complex puzzle.
Sure.
But going back and forth between them, I don't love. I kind of wish it would have been like one or the other. Yeah, I assume as you get deeper into the game, it becomes more of the small variant of sprites, because I imagine they need more complex puzzles and more boxes and all of that. But yeah, I kind of wish they would have stuck with one or the other and not, at least from what I saw, kind of jump back and forth between them.
Right. They blow everything out by a magnification of like 2, and so you're smaller, the boxes are smaller, the field is smaller, everything is smaller, and it feels slower, but they managed to get a more complex puzzle onto their single screen game. So I get it. I like exactly like you said. I understand why they did it. I can appreciate it for the puzzle complexity that it adds and things like that, but it just, I don't know. It maybe just wasn't really handled that well. It doesn't read well. It doesn't play well.
Well, and I think the sprites are just better when they're bigger, you know, which
sure.
I guess obviously you can add more detail, all of that. I don't think anyone's playing Boxxle for the amazing graphics.
Sure.
But still, it feels a little bit worse. I did like the fact that the guy, Willie, you know, he actually pushes the box when you go up next to it. His sprite changes, and, you know, he has like little sweat beads, and he's, you know, kind of pushing the box. I like that. I've seen other iterations of Sokoban proper, and then other, you know, knockoff games where the sprite doesn't change, you're just moving around. So I did like that they added that little bit of motion or additional sprite. So I like that.
It almost looked like a Lego guy. Like the way his hands were on the boxes,
Yeah.
it almost makes him look like a little Lego minifigure.
I didn't thought of that, but yeah. Yeah, the way he stands prone, when he's not pushing a box, kind of looks like that. And then, when he's pushing a box, it kind of, okay, my headcanon is now that Willie is a Lego guy.
All right, well, I think that's a pretty nice note to end it on. Do you have any other aesthetic stuff? Or I do think I have some more to say final opinion-wise.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to wrap back to our immediate opinions.
Okay, so here's my bottom line on this, and this is just for my personal Boxxle opinion here at the end of this. I still think that if you are into this type of game, just like if you're into crosswords or Sudoku or something like that, if you are into this kind of hardcore, pure puzzle game and you want to play it on your Game Boy, here it is, time tested at this point. For me, this kind of puzzle is something that I would rather encounter as a mini game puzzle in a bigger game, like an RPG or something.
Okay.
Maybe a couple times, and then not have to deal with it anymore.
Okay. I think that aligns with my take as well.
Mm-hmm.
If this were a mobile game, I would play it relatively frequently. I do like this kind of game. I do like the puzzle aspect, all of that. I do wish I didn't have to have, this is current day me, I do wish I didn't have to have a password system and
a dedicated machine.
Yeah, a dedicated Game Boy to play it. I appreciate those features, but nowadays, to me, this would be a great mobile game. And I've played mobile games like this. I've sought out and played to completion mobile games like this because, they're kind of like Motocross Maniacs. I feel like they are games that are very good for 10 to 30 minutes, and then you're done with it and you're doing something else, right? Whereas if I'm going to sit down and play a game, quote unquote, I'm going to want to play something for longer than that. So
I'm curious in talking about this in this way, just because obviously this is our Game Boy centric show here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, even ones listening to this show who also have Game Boys of their own. You find it more difficult to pull this game out and play it on a Game Boy in your hands and enjoy it in that way than you would to just have this thing or something equivalent to it on your phone, the device that you already do a lot of your day-to-day things on. Is that what
exactly.
I'm just making sure that I am getting the right message here.
Yeah, so I'm definitely taking these opinions based on, kind of current day.
Of course.
And back when I didn't have a phone and I would get in the car for a road trip and I would have my Game Boy slung over my shoulder and all of that. This would be a great game to play for a little bit on that road trip, then switch out carts and play something else and, kind of go about that way. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I'm not the passenger on road trips very often. I'm usually the one driving.
Of course. Sure.
But also, I don't carry my Game Boy over my shoulder very often anymore, unfortunately. So
mine's always in my purse.
So, if I am seeking out that experience, this would not be a game that I would go to. However, if I'm opening up my phone and opening up a random app, this would not be one that I would mind opening up, playing for 10 to 15 minutes, and then going on about something else. I would enjoy that, but that's not really the Game Boy experience, so I don't know if I can recommend it for Game Boy per se.
Sure. It's definitely different when you are comparing the device that you are always holding to do a lot of your day-to-day stuff on and something that you still have to supply with batteries and be in the right position in a brightly lit room or outside or whatever to play. I totally get that. And that says a lot too, honestly, because, and I don't know this firsthand, but I'm sure that there were Sokoban equivalents made for even non-smartphones in the same way that Snake was, you know?
Honestly,
because it really just fits that kind of game, because all you have to do is press the T9 keys to get the character to move around. So I don't know that it would be that difficult to accomplish.
honestly, as I was playing this, I thought to myself, this would be a game that I would love to have on my TI-89 when I was in, calculus in high school.
Sure, exactly.
Honestly,
it probably was.
I think I did probably have something like this on my TI-89 in high school. But yeah, that's kind of the vibe I have. I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't think it's a game that I'm going to break out the Game Boy, waste battery life to play frequently.
Same. Yeah, maybe we'll wrap that into the final word going forward. Is it worth the battery life? So final word on that for Boxxle, for me, yeah, probably not. So I think it is now time to see if we can get your grade higher.
Yes, let's see. So I am currently definitely not opening up the spreadsheet because I forgot to.
Never.
And I'm at a 75%. So I'm doing pretty well. I have started tracking what quiz questions I get correct, like 1, 2, or 3.
I knew you would.
So I need to go populate that in for the past episodes. But the past 3 episodes, I've been doing really well. So I'm sure I just jinxed myself, but let's see if I can.
It'll be fine.
With Boxxle, the sky's the limit. Who knows what questions you've pulled out?
I know. Fiendish I am. Okay. Ready for question 1.
Let's do it.
Boxxle quiz, question 1. Sokoban, as a game, has been around for a long time. Much longer than even the NES or the Game Boy it was ported to. It was first sold on an early Japanese home computer called the NEC PC8801 back in 1982, like Jeff said earlier in the episode.
I was like, yes. Every time you start these, I'm like, oh, I said this. And then you just say what I said, and I'm like, dang it.
No, I'm shouting you out this time.
It's not going to be that easy.
I got it. But even before that happened, the initial version of Sokoban wasn't a commercial game, but a personal project made by its creator, Hiroyuki Imabayashi, for him and his friends to enjoy. How many levels were in this original concept version of Sokoban? A, 1, B, 5, C, 20, or D, 50?
Oh, 1 seems ridiculous. I can't imagine anyone who is making a game is going to be like, here's 1 level, done, I'm
going to call my friends over and be like, speaking as a game developer,
sure.
There have been plenty of times where I have been like, hey, play my 1 level. Okay,
so fair, but I would argue every game starts as 1 level. So, I'm going to go with the creator initially made a level, but then expanded before, he considered it quote unquote done or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with 20. That seems like a reasonable enough jump.
Final answer?
I'm going to go D, final answer. Or sorry, C, 20, final answer.
You would have been wrong either way. It was B, 5.
Oh.
Imabayashi would say in the greetings section of the Sokoban.jp official website, which does exist and is very cute, that the game program, quote, came together fairly quickly, but designing levels that provided a real challenge proved difficult. So only 5 original levels were made before the game was shown off to his friends, and it wasn't until the game was being remade for the PC 8801 that Imabayashi would spruce up the presentation. It was originally just text graphics, and increase the level count to 20. So it started at 5, and the original Sokoban product on the PC-88 was 20.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. I guess that, like, proof of concept 5, probably good. I think I overthought that one. Oh well. Oh well.
That's okay. That does break your streak of getting the first question right. So
It does, yeah.
it does. That's okay. You'll still be fine. Question 2. While Sokoban doesn't differ too much from its Japanese and international release versions, there are some things that keep the two versions from being identical, like a lot of the other early Game Boy releases were. Which of these was one of the changes made from the original Japanese Sokoban before it was released internationally as Boxxle?
The name.
Yeah, right? No, just the name. Nothing else. Okay. A, the player's victory sprite was reposed. B, the digitized sound clip is a different phrase. C, the songs all have different titles at the sound test. Or D, all of these things were changed.
Ooh. I'm going to say D, all of them. In my head, I was like, I can't imagine him saying yeah, especially back in like 1990. I feel like that's a bit too English.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say D. I'm going to say D, all of them were changed.
It's D.
Yeah. At least we're continuing the streak of not getting 0 correct. So that's big.
That's true. You have not had that happen yet. That is important to carry on. So, while all of the changes were small and mostly visual, the hope was still, I guess, to give the game a more generic appeal by removing some of the more expressly Japanese parts of the sound and the graphics. Instead of yeah in the international version, in the Japanese version, the character says yatta, which is like, I did it. Instead of the thumbs up that he gives when you beat a puzzle, it's like a arms out, legs spread, like victory pose. And there's even some stuff between like the cutscenes and the graphics get changed. The songs all have different titles in the sound test. It's all small things that you wouldn't really notice and don't really make any difference to the game whatsoever. But
yeah,
interesting to note, a lot of this is, as always, thanks to the cutting room floor. Awesome website, excellent resource for this kind of information. But okay, ready for your final question?
Let's do it.
Okay. Similarly to chess, Sokoban has also been used to train computers in problem-solving algorithms. Sokoban puzzles are difficult for computers, though, due to how many boxes can be legally pushed each turn and how many pushes are needed for the optimal solution. So even small puzzles can be tough for a computer to work out. True or false? There are still many highly complex Sokoban puzzles that have only ever been solved by humans and not yet by any of the available Sokoban computer solvers.
I'm going to say that's true. So true is the best solvers cannot solve the high difficulty, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So true would mean that even though there are multiple like Sokoban bots or whatever, that none of them are able to solve the extremely complex puzzles that human solvers can take care of with enough time and mental fortitude.
I'm going to say that's true. I think the best way to solve these are like, I don't know what it's called, but essentially where it like looks at each move and then what all the branching possibilities of that move are. And I think with these puzzles that would get infinitely difficult.
That's pretty much one of the like two big factors that gives the computers difficulty is that the branching solutions are a lot.
Do I think it's worse than chess or Go? Because didn't a computer beat a human in Go? I'm gonna say true. I'm not gonna think too deeply
Don't
about
overthink
it. I'm gonna say true. I'm gonna say true.
Okay. Good thing you did, because it's true.
Okay.
There are multiple programs made for the purpose of solving Sokoban puzzles, which are similar to like chess solving programs, but none of them have managed to crack some of the most difficult puzzles that are still within the realm of human solving. And even of the ones that have managed to solve some of those puzzles, they don't necessarily reach the minimal number of moves that human solvers are able to come up with on leaderboards. So even though if you look at some of the testing going on for Sokoban bots compared to human solvers in the really complex puzzles, even if there is a bot on the leaderboard, they're usually pretty far down still.
Still beating the bots.
Right?
2 for 3. I'm happy with that quiz result. Did bring down my average just a little bit, but not too bad. Not too bad. We'll take 2 out of 3.
Well, our audience question for this one is, the actual Sokoban game series has pretty much gone by the same name throughout every inception over the years. Sokoban, Sokoban 2, Sokoban Revenge, Power Sokoban. It's only really the releases in North America that buck this trend in the 90s. Boxxle was the Game Boy game here. Boxy Boy was the name for the TurboGrafx 16 version, but there was also one released on the Sega Genesis or the Sega Mega Drive for our non-US Sega fans. So what was the name of the Sokoban game for the Sega Genesis or Sega Mega Drive that was made in the 1990? I would like to know.
Sonic Moves Boxes.
Sonic the warehouse worker.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I guess we'll find out next week.
We sure will. I can't wait to give the title for this one because it's definitely the best of the bunch.
Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts and maybe recommend us to your friends or anyone else you know who might like the show. It really helps us out and we really appreciate it.
All right. Well, join us next week when we talk about golf. So we're going golfing. Tony's gonna love it. Tony's gonna love it.
I mean, stop. We'll see. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.